I never expected that a single photograph would unravel my entire life. I was 26 when I found it, tucked inside a dusty trunk in my grandfather's attic, wrapped in yellowed tissue paper. It was a black and white snapshot, edges curling, showing a crowded street scene. At first glance, it seemed unremarkable, men in fedoras, women in pillbox hats, the bustle of mid-20th century America. But then my grandfather's voice echoed in my head, "Your great-uncle Al was everywhere, even where he didn't belong." I scanned the photo, heart fluttering, until I saw him, a lean man in a dark suit, half-turned, his eyes sharp beneath the brim of his hat. Beneath the photograph, in my grandmother's looping script, 3 words, Al, New York, 63. 1963, New York City. My mind scrambled. That was the year President Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, a tragedy that, for reasons nobody's ever fully explained, dominated the headlines for weeks on end, reaching deep into every American household. And that face, Al's face, was in every single news report from the biggest unsolved mystery of our time. I laid the photograph on my desk and opened my laptop. I pulled up archival footage from November 1963. Frame by frame, I watched the crowds along Elm Street in Dallas. Then I watched the glare of flashbulbs, the roar of the motorcade. And there, unmistakable, was my great-uncle Al, the same dark-suited man, standing on the curb, a mere 3 rows back from the president's limousine. My heart thumped so loudly I was sure someone could hear it through my headphones. My fingers trembled as I skimmed through dozens of frames. Al was there in almost every shot, always in the same position, always looking not at Kennedy but directly into the camera, as if he knew he was being filmed. Why? He was from New York, a small-town insurance salesman by all accounts. At least, that's what the family lore said. But here he was, at a historical flashpoint, Dallas, November 22, 1963. He shouldn't have been there. He had no reason. The next morning, I called my grandmother, Evelyn, over coffee in her cozy kitchen. She clutched her porcelain mug, eyes narrowing when I mentioned Dallas. "Your Uncle Al loved his mysteries," she said. "He traveled. Whenever something big happened, he wanted to see it up close." "Grandma, why did he attend JFK's motorcade? And why is he looking at the camera in those newsreels?" I pressed. She sighed. "He never talked about it, not to me. I thought it was just another one of his obsessions, like chasing UFO sightings and the Loch Ness Monster." I left her house with more questions than answers. If I wanted the truth, I'd have to go back in time, digitally. I spent the next 2 days scouring newspaper archives, Freedom of Information Act requests, televised footage, FBI files on the assassination, medical examiner reports, autopsy logs. Everything. And wherever Al's name appeared, scant as it was always in conjunction with a brief note, witness reported mysterious behavior, or subject appeared to record events from an unusual vantage. But nowhere did I find any record of who Al was, why he was in Dallas, or what he was doing there. On the evening of the 3rd day, I stumbled across an obscure bulletin board post from 2005. Someone claimed that an unknown man in a dark suit, clearly visible in presidential footage, was actually a field agent for a clandestine organization known only as Section 9. Section 9. I whispered to my cat. A quick search revealed nothing official, just paranoid message board ramblings about government labs, sleeper agents, and mind control experiments. It sounded insane. But in context of Al's impossible appearance, maybe there was something to it. I followed the thread's breadcrumbs, tips about a secret annex in Dealey Plaza, graffiti tags reading 99 sprayed near vantage points, rumors of a black ops cell using high-resolution monitors to feed data to the president's brain. It was absurd. Yet, my great-uncle had been there. My pulse raced. The possibility that my family was entangled in a dark conspiracy shook me. If Al was an agent, a spy, or an unwitting pawn, then what legacy had he passed to me? I dug out Grandpa's war-era letters, Grandma's diaries, and pressed them into a makeshift scanner. My grandmother had died the previous year, Grandpa had passed decades earlier. No living relative could contradict me. As I read, patterns emerged, references to special assignments, field operations, and cryptic mentions of the directive. One diary entry, dated 1950, caught my breath. They say it will change everything, or nothing at all. If I survive, I will tell my family I was in Europe. If not, let the photograph speak for me. Europe? But Al was in Dallas, not Europe. The entry suggested clandestine work, but its meaning was murky. By late afternoon, my head ached with speculation. I took a break and went for a walk, but even the neighborhood seemed to pulse with hidden meaning. Every billboard, every passing car, felt like part of a grander stage set. Back at home, I decided to return to that attic trunk. Maybe there were more photographs, other clues. I hauled it down and dumped its contents, brittle letters, old postcards, a faded map of Europe with red arrows scrawled across it, and one final photograph. This one was a studio portrait, Al in a tailored suit, a thin smile. In his lapel, an enamel pin, 9 stylized bars forming a curious symbol, the same I'd seen on that bulletin board, 9-9. My heart raced. The photograph was dated July 1962. On the back, in Aunt Ruth's handwriting. Al, just back from the project. Don't ask, don't tell. The project. So that was what directive referred to. Whatever Section 9 was, it had projects, and Al was deeply involved. I sank to the attic floor. If my great-uncle was a covert operative, then our family's clean, suburban history was a fabrication. And if he'd been active during the most explosive political event of the 20th century, then there were forces, governmental, paramilitary, perhaps even darker, that had operated in the shadows. The next morning, I flew to Dallas to stand where Al once stood. Dealey Plaza. The grassy knoll. The schoolbook depository. Armed with a high-resolution printout of the photo, I walked the same sidewalk, puzzled by the crowd scenes from 6 decades earlier. Tourists jostled me, street sellers hawked replica newspapers. I felt like an interloper in history. I approached reenactors and historians. Do you know this man? I asked, showing the printout. They stared. No. But I've heard rumors of a third operative tracking the motorcade. They always called him the Watcher. My blood ran cold. They called him the Watcher, said a woman in a vintage dress. A silent figure on the curb. Unblinking. Some say he signaled the shooter. I fled to the Texas schoolbook depository. Security guards eyed me suspiciously. But in the gift shop, I found another clue, a coffee table book with rare photographs. I flipped through, pages of blurry shots, until I saw him, Al's face, in profile, pressing something to his ear, a field radio, just before the fatal shot. The caption read, "Unidentified observer, possibly connected to Dallas Security Detail." Dallas Security Detail? They'd deployed him. No wonder his name never appeared in any official file, he was off the books. That night, staying in a cramped motel, I compared notes. Dallas police reports had redacted references to unidentified agents and unreported signals. The FBI files on Lee Harvey Oswald omitted any mention of radio transmissions. The Warren Commission hearings never questioned the presence of covert operatives. Somehow, Al had been woven into the assassination, not merely a witness but a player. And woven into my own history, too. My phone rang. A San Francisco area code. I answered. A man's voice, "Ms. Reed, I believe you have information about Section 9. Turn around. You'll see me." My hackles rose. I spun and saw nobody, just motel windows yawning dark. "Who is this?" I whispered. The line clicked dead. I scanned the room, heart pounding. On the nightstand lay my grandfather's watch, an heirloom I'd placed there earlier. Its second hand ticked once, twice, then stopped. 15 minutes to midnight. I packed in a frenzy, laptop, photos, documents. As I slung the trunk into my car, headlights swept the parking lot. I jumped in and locked the door. The car's engine roared, tires squealing as I fishtailed out of the lot. Behind me, motel security lights illuminated a lone figure, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark suit and fedora, my great-uncle's own silhouette. But he could not have been there, Al should be dead. Yet that shape watched me for a moment, then vanished behind a row of cars. My stomach churned. I peeled onto the highway, heart pounding, mind reeling with implications. The unseen connection between my grandfather's attic photo and a crime that reshaped history had put me in their crosshairs. I rented a cabin in the mountains of North Carolina, remote, off-grid, planning my next move. I needed to unmask Section 9, expose the complicity of government agencies, and reckon with my family's role. But each day brought revelations more shattering. 1955. Al intercepted messages about covert nuclear tests. Section 9 was monitoring fallout and civilian impact. 1958, Al met with MI6 operatives in London, a transatlantic espionage network. 1963, Al deployed to Dallas under official cover, tasked with observing, transmitting, perhaps even coordinating. Post-1963, official record of Al's life erased. He reappears sporadically, in South America, Africa, always in conflicts, political upheavals. A ghost operative. I realized my own life had been mapped by that lineage, choice of career, penchant for puzzles, attraction to mysteries. I inherited not only my grandfather's attic but a destiny shaped by covert agendas. I dug deeper into the mountain cabin's dusty archives of switched-off satellite dishes and old radio receivers. At night, I listened to shortwave frequencies, searching for coded transmissions, echoes of my great-uncle's covert network. Some nights I heard nothing. Others, faint Morse code that spelled "watcher" before cutting off. The days blurred. Sleep evaded me. In dreams, I wandered through Dealey Plaza, heard Kennedy's laughter before the shots, felt Al's eyes on me, the same eyes from the photograph. One midnight, I awoke to a tap at the window. Outside, the fedora silhouette again. I laughed, but it felt hollow. I unlocked the window and called out, "Who are you?" No answer. Just the whine of cicadas. When I leaned out, the figure had gone. By week's end, I had enough to write a book, Watcher in the Crowd, my family's hidden role in the JFK assassination. I emailed drafts to investigative journalists. I prepared to go public. I'd laid out the photographic evidence, archival footage with Al's face circled, agency memos with redactions, the coded diary entries. Then the emails stopped. Phones went dead. My laptop's hard drive wiped itself, factory reset. The cabin's internet modem exploded, tiny flame, acrid smoke. In the aftermath, I found a single note taped to my door. I knew then, Section 9 still operated. Government operatives, corporate mercenaries, intelligence agencies, all woven into a subterranean web. They had the power to erase me, or worse. But they couldn't erase history. I made copies of everything, printed photographs, transcribed diaries, screen grabs of archival footage. I mailed them, one set to the National Archives, another to the Washington Post, dozens more to trusted friends across the globe. Copies went to lawyers, NGOs, human rights groups. Now, I'm on the run. I move between safe houses. I change my appearance, dye my hair, alter my accent. I've severed almost every tie to my former life. I'm hunted, but so is the truth. I carry that photo in my wallet, the one from Grandpa's attic. Whenever I see it, I'm reminded of the pattern interrupt that changed everything, a simple family snapshot, a throwaway memento, a key to a conspiracy that spanned continents and decades. I thought it was just a random old photograph from my grandpa's attic. A faded picture of a familiar face in the crowd. But that face was in every single news report from the biggest unsolved mystery of our time. And he wasn't just a bystander. He was the watcher, the link between secret agencies, covert experiments, and the events that shaped the modern world. The air in most rooms now smells of stale coffee and recycled elevator hums. Outside, life goes on, traffic, laughter, smartphone games. But for me, the world is split, before the photograph and after. Every headline, every breaking news alert, every political scandal, pulses through the lens of my great-uncle's hidden legacy. I'm telling you this because you deserve to know. The unseen connections trace through our own families, through dusty attics and forgotten trunks. Histories written in redacted files and yellowed photographs hold truths that powerful forces wish to bury. If you ever unearth a photograph of a relative in a distant crowd, pause. Study the face. Ask the questions we were all taught to avoid. Because sometimes, the most mundane keepsake carries a pattern of fate that can rewrite your entire identity. This is my confession. My warning. The unseen connection between a family heirloom and an unsolved crime has irrevocably altered my life. And I fear it may alter yours, unless you shine a light into the attic, even if it means facing what lurks in those shadows. Because some secrets refuse to stay buried. And some faces, once seen, can never be unseen. I shouldn't have gone upstairs that day. But I did. And now I must live by the photograph's unblinking gaze, chasing its echoes through a world built on secrets. And I will never stop searching for the truth, no matter what it costs me.